Golf is not fun, as in the word ha-ha, laughs, light, and so on. Golf is hard. It is very, very hard. And as a result, positive events are extremely rewarding. And it's the rewarding issue that hooks people into the game, which is another reason why I'd like to see them be able to hit the greens more often.
Golf Smarter number 817 is brought to you by calderalab.com/golfsmarter. Golf Smarter listeners receive a 20% discount with the coupon code GolfSmarter. Again, go to calderalab.com/golfsmarter, and when you check out, use the code GolfSmarter. Barney Adams has just been named golf's new commissioner by me. And here's how he's going to fix the game.
This is Golf Smarter, sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome back to the Golf Smarter podcast, Barney.
Thank you for having me on.
It's great to have you back on again. You're always a wealth of information and plethora of entertainment. I'm going to hit you up. Start thinking now. I'm going to hit you up for some great golf stories because I'm sure you have a million of them.
I have a few. That's true. Yes.
But before we do that, let's talk about your latest product, the BGT shafts, putter shafts. Now, the last time we spoke and I brought it up, you're going, yeah, it's not for everybody, so I don't really want to talk much about it. But I really want to. I see that you've come out with another shaft, a newer one, the, what is it, Polar? Stability shaft. Stability shaft. The Polar, the Stability Tour 2 Polar shaft, and it's white. I've even seen one on the tour already, it seems like. Why should golfers of all skill levels be interested in these shafts?
Well, last I looked, putting was about, 40% of the game. And let's suppose you go out and you spend, $3.6 million for this super deluxe driver that hits the ball 8 yards further, we'll say, or 15 yards further as far as that goes. There's no relationship between that and your score. You could shank the next one out of bounds or top it or whatever. If you get a putter shaft that rolls the ball more consistently, gives you more distance control, you will, in fact, play better. And last I looked, that was the name of the game.
Lower scores. That is the name of the game, right? Getting the ball in the hole faster than before.
Mm-hmm.
And faster than your opponent.
Yes. Yeah, and smile at him. Flash the shaft at him when you make the putt.
Oh, I think that
nobody doesn't have.
I think that should be the bumper sticker of your new your new product line. Flash the shaft.
There you go.
I'm going to use it.
We'll have to create an icon for that. That'll work.
Yeah, an emoji.
Yes, exactly.
Flash the shaft. I love that. So what is it about the Stability shaft?
Well, it's engineering. If you had a collection of putters in front of you, let's say, and you could look back in time to the Tommy Armour blades and the bullseyes and so on, the heads were smaller heel to toe, but they were also much smaller from front to back. And as a result, they were much lighter in weight. Then as putter designers got involved with putting weight on the heel and the toe to mitigate deflection on off-center hits, the heads necessarily got heavier. And today's putter heads are almost twice as heavy as they were back in the so-called old days. I don't like to refer to that because I was around then, but be that as it may, they're much heavier today. Well, in that environment, what has not changed is the putter shaft. And the putter shaft is now being stressed because of the extra weight. And when that happens, it oscillates very, very slightly. But when the shaft oscillates, the face oscillates. And you get into a kind of a crapshoot. Sometimes it's fine, and sometimes it comes back to the ball slightly off center. And if you look at any putting application, any book, any anything that's written about putting, the first step in putting is to have the putter face return to the ball square, and then we go from there. So the shaft is actually, and I'll be very honest about this, it's very slight. This is not a go, no-go thing, but it does shimmy, oscillate, whatever you want to call it, and that, in effect, is negative. It just isn't a good thing.
And does this oscillation that is very slight, who's going to notice? I mean, do every golfer is going to notice this, or only some people who are just the most skilled?
Just your golf balls.
Golfers won't know. The golf ball will know if it's going in the right direction or not.
That is exactly right. And one of the engineering challenges of this shaft was to make it the same weight, the same balance, virtually identical to the steel shaft, which you're used to. And there's a reason for that. You could fix this problem in 30 seconds by taking the steel shaft and making it, say, 3 times as heavy, or 2 or 3 times as wide. But the problem there is that the adjustment that the player has to make is greater than the problem you're trying to fix in the first place, and it just doesn't work. So the engineering objective was to make a better golf shaft, but do it in such a way that when the golfer putts with it, they'll be aware of the results, but they are not going to have to make any adjustment during the stroke.
And has this been opportunity become available because of materials that have never been available before?
No, not really. I mean, all sources for shafting have certainly improved over the years. Their technology has gotten better, but no, this was a study done on ball roll, and something was going on that we couldn't figure out, and then we kind of backed into it and then fixed it.
How'd you do that?
By making the shaft design such that it was impervious to the extra weight that you see in putter heads today.
I see. And are there some shafts or some putter heads that this works better for than others?
No, not really.
Any
Not
putter
really.
head?
Yeah, yes.
Whether it's heel balanced or
that doesn't make any difference. Face balance, heel toe, whatever.
Center shaft.
Is it possible there's some? You'd be in the 4th decimal place. It wouldn't make any difference.
Oh, I see. The 4th decimal place. Now, I your first shaft, I had it put on my DF2, the Lab Golf DF2, with the gigantic head, and it made a big difference. I mean, that putter, I got it. It was nice. I liked it, but it wasn't changing anything for me. But when I put the BGT shaft on it, all of a sudden I was putting much better.
As advertised, what can I tell you?
And then, so now the Polar came out, and the new one, the Stability Tour 2 Polar, and I had it put on my Seymour putter, and to be completely honest with you, it kind of changed the sound of the ball coming off the face. Is that possible?
Sure. Sound is a characteristic of vibration, and if you've mitigated the vibration, you're going to lessen the sound.
Oh, so that's a good thing. You want it to have less resonance.
Yeah, you want it quiet.
Oh, I see. Interesting. Well, it is a pretty shaft. There's no question about that.
Yeah, the different variations we have are basically marketing oriented because consumers want something different, and we're trying to take care of them. But the engineering behind the product hasn't changed.
Oh, I see. Well, you were a club maker for years, right? That's what happened when you came up with the tight lies and stuff. You were...
Yeah, I was a club fitter before that.
Right, club fitter, club maker, right? Mm-hmm. And what did you find as a club fitter? Did you find that the shaft was really one of your great frustrations with club heads, or what did you find people frustrated?
Not really. it was the club, because it could be good shaft, bad head, good shaft, good head, bad grip, good head, good shaft, good grip, wrong length,
Mm-hmm.
and on and on and on. It's the total package.
It is. And who are these shafts are only for putters though? The BGT shafts are not
these are
for.
developed for us. That's correct. Yes.
And are you looking to create a line of shafts that will be just for irons and wedges and other clubs?
I would say to stay in close touch with Mary Beth.
Okay. So that's not something you're going to be sharing. Mary Beth is your PR person. You're not able to share that?
I don't want to say something and then find out that, because we're in a world of supply
chain issues.
Delayed, yes.
Yeah.
And I don't want to come out with something and then find out I'm off by 6 months or something. So that's why I'm saying, and I've been asked this all the time, but I say we will announce when we can produce.
Right. Supply chains are screwing everybody up. All right, let's take a quick time out. We'll come back more with Barney Adams right after this. This episode is brought to you by Caldera Lab, makers of The Good, an incredible serum used daily that will help your skin feel better and make your face look healthier and younger. You and I both know that I am getting paid to do these ads for Caldera Lab, but other than some bullet points about the product, they don't tell me what to say. So please know that my testimonials are my words, not theirs. So if you'd like to see before and after pictures of me when using just 1 ounce of The Good, check out calderalab.com/golfsmarter. But let me remind you of some of those important bullet points that may change your thinking about taking care of your skin. The Good is a non-toxic natural serum made 100% from plants. All ingredients are either organically farmed or actually wild harvested by hand with the teams of botanists from Jackson Hole, Wyoming area. Caldera Lab did an 8-week clinical trial and proved that The Good works on all skin types, whether you have a beard, a bald head, or dry scalp. The Good keeps it nice, shiny, and moisturized. And The Good is easy to use. Simply apply to dry skin. Again, I apply it every night, but you can also use in the mornings as well. And now, even though it is an oil, it doesn't feel greasy, nor does it cause your skin to break out. And best of all, you can try it 100% risk-free. If you don't love it, they'll refund you in full. So go to calderalab.com/golfsmarter and see for yourself. And while you're there, take advantage of the 20% discount they're offering Golf Smarter listeners with a coupon code GolfSmarter. Again, go to calderalab.com/golfsmarter or use code GolfSmarter. That's calderalab.com/golfsmarter for 20% off. And I'll put that link in the show notes and on our blog. Hey, it's worked for me. I'm sure your skin will look healthier too. Barney, I'm really glad that we got to schedule time to talk together because I know you have opinions on these things and I love to hear from you. The USGA has come in with a new ruling recently. And to me, it confirmed my frustrations with the USGA, and that is that they're an advocate for the golf course, not the golfer. And now they're saying, at least for on the tour, they're limiting the length of driver shafts. Would you like to comment on this ruling?
Well, it's going to be a fairly long answer.
That's okay. We have the time.
All righty. The PGA Tour is a television program. And as such, with advertising dollars, and now especially with the advent of gambling, there's millions, if not tens of millions of dollars to be distributed. Now, given that framework, it would be wise for anybody to make haste very slowly, because you don't mess with something that's doing very well. I mean, the PGA Tour, for example, just, at least temporarily, I don't have the details, but there was a Saudi-backed alternative tour to take the 30 best players from the PGA Tour and guarantee them something like $5 million a week to get in the game. Well, obviously the PGA Tour doesn't want that, because that delineates their talent. And it looks like it's not going to happen. Like I say, I don't have specific data, but my point being is that because the PGA Tour is so successful, they're kind of a target. Now, the USGA, is not going to come bouncing along and start making rules that denigrate the effect of the PGA Tour. I mean, the other tour can say, hey, we don't care. Have a 80-inch driver. We don't care, and you're still going to get your $5 million a week. So you kind of have to be careful here. I think that there is a for the good of the game, as it's called, position where you can do some things, but you make haste very, very slowly. I think the 46-inch driver is an example of that. Taking the driver length to a 46-inch max on tour isn't going to be noticed. A couple guys might yell and scream, that you're interfering with them. But if you look at what they do, they don't. If suppose they're playing 48, all right, they might play 48, but if they have a bad driving day, they cut it back and play 46 for a while, go back to the range, and so on. So what I'm saying, it isn't a big deal. And like I say, the real issue here is you've got to understand the environment in which the game is being played. And it's, like I say, it's a television show. Golf might be the impetus or the factor, but it's still a TV show. You take TV away from the PGA Tour, what do you have? You got it. Same answer, nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
so you got to keep that. You got to keep that in mind at all times. And as I said, and again, I've only read a little bit about it, but as I understand it, now you're going to be able to make bets, through the round on a player. And my gosh, the permutations and combinations of that are, 9 figures. I don't know what the heck they are, because you could have who's going to be the longest driver in this threesome, who's going to hit at the right side of the fairway. I mean, this could go on forever. So, again, we'll just understand that we've got a very successful television show. We need to keep the emphasis on the game itself. That's very important. That's why there's rules, and they're closely followed, and you don't mess with success.
Yeah. And do you think that they're kind of playing this TV show to the general audience or the gambling audience?
I think when you have a business that's that big and that successful, you have literally a room full of software engineers with algorithms who study minutely what goes on and customer reaction. And if they see a verifiable trend, they go back to the boys that make the decisions and say, hey, look, when we did XYZ, our consumer response went up significantly. We should have more emphasis in that direction. This is a business. And when you're running a business, you want every asset you can get your hands on to make your business more successful.
So the USGA did this for the PGA Tour, not for golfers.
I don't think it makes any difference to golfers. I got to be, I was a club fitter. So could I get a call from some guy that says, hey, I'm using a 48-inch driver and I'm hitting the ball 20 yards further? Absolutely. And he might have 16 more friends, but this is not new. I'll give you a name to look up. Rocky Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
Tour Pro, back in I guess it was the 80s. I lose track of everything now, but and he won on the Champions Tour, and he played. I think he had a 50-inch driver, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
So this kind of stuff's been around for a long time, but it didn't. he did okay with it, but I didn't see anybody else on the tour jumping on the bandwagon.
Right. This seems like it is directed at like a character like Bryson DeChambeau.
It might be, but he's experimenting, and good for him.
Yeah.
But he might go 48, he might go 46. Who knows? I would also say that there's another side to this coin.
Oh,
Let's
please.
suppose, for the sake of argument, that you're a very successful tour player, and you've got a 48-inch driver in your bag, and the other clubs are apportionate to that 48 inches, and all of a sudden you can't use it anymore. Your first phone call is going to be to your attorney. Say, hey, they're messing with my ability to make a living. And I can guarantee you that people that make the rules are aware of these kind of things.
Mm-hmm. I remember, yeah, I did. I remember like when Tiger came along and started being successful and drawing larger audiences for not just on the tour itself, but for television, all of a sudden the purses started getting much, much larger. I mean, because you're getting a bigger TV audience, and it really changed the sport, didn't it?
It's a business, just like I said. If the business grows and prospers, it filters down to the participants. There was a guy by the name of Palmer back in the '60s that did the same thing. Because I'm very ancient, I have some friends that played the tour before Arnie got out there. And they will tell you, they said, we gambled for more money on Mondays and Tuesdays than the purses were.
Yeah, I bet that's true.
It is. Yeah. And then things changed when Arnie came along, because he was a great guy and people loved him at television, and television loved him.
Yeah.
And therein lies the key.
Yep. But I think that a character like Bryson DeChambeau has he's charismatic. I mean, as Tiger was. And he's getting
he's not in the same league.
No, absolutely. I completely agree with you. He's not in the same league. He does have some charisma. He is controversial. And I think that's a wonderful thing, because it gets people to turn their heads a little bit and go, oh, look at that. And then he did the long drive competition this year, and that was highly entertaining, and he's bringing more attention to that sport. But the fact that he's driving par fours, I mean, when Tiger had his first impact, golf course design started changing. We got to make them longer. And now it's like, well, we can't make them any longer. We're running out of real estate. Let's just limit the amount that they can hit it, how far they can hit it. I just don't see why that's important to them, because it's a TV show.
Well, taking DeChambeau for a second.
Sure.
All that gets written about is his driver length. And there's other guys on tour that get it right alongside of him, by the way. But he putts phenomenally well. And that gets lost in the analysis. Like when he won the U.S. Open in Winged Foot, he putted better than anybody.
Right.
Well, guess what? The last I looked, the guy that putts really, really well pretty often wins.
Yeah, that's true. But then a couple of years ago, they were like, okay, no more belly putters, because it won 5 times on the tour that year. And it's like, they came back with the rulings like, okay, we're making changes again.
Are you asking me for my opinion?
Yes, sir, I am.
I think you're talking about anchoring, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was a fiasco. There's no data any place that shows that anchoring is a superior form of putting, just pure data based. It might be for player X, and it might be awful for player Y, but overall, I've never seen a study that shows that it's superior. And if it were, I can guarantee you that thousands of amateurs would be belly putting and they would just say, "Hey, we're going to suspend the rule. The heck with it, because we like their results for belly putting."
You think
But
so?
I don't see that at all. And if I were a commissioner, I would ban the arm lock, because if you're talking about anchoring, when you got that putter shaft, glued to your wrist and your forearm, if that's not anchoring, then I guess I just don't understand the definition.
Mm-hmm. All right, you gave me a little tease here of where I want to go next. Let's take another time out. We'll be right back. All right, Barney, you just said about the arm lock. If you were commissioner, you would get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Barney Adams.
Well, let me. I will clarify that. If I were commissioner, I would certainly investigate. I would like to get rid of it, and I want to see how much blowback I'm going to get, and am I going to get sued, and so on and so forth. Because again, the guy's out there making his living with an arm lock, and he's scared to death of having to putt in the traditional style. It's, "Hi, Mr. Attorney, I got a problem."
Right, but it also, do you think that something like that would impact product sales? And do those companies?
What kind of products? Arm lock putters?
Yeah.
They don't sell enough to count.
They don't. You don't think that large manufacturers, club manufacturers, have any influence on these decisions?
Do I think the club manufacturers have any input?
Influence, yeah.
No. I think they react.
Okay.
And if arm lock putting were, say, 70% of the people who play, then the manufacturers would be all over it. When was the last time you saw an ad featuring an arm lock putter?
Right. No.
And let's go one further. Let's talk about manufacturers for a second. There's 4 of them: Titleist, Callaway, Ping, and TaylorMade. That's about 82% of the market. Now there's 4 jillion online, and there's some very smart guys, and they love their products and so on and so forth. Well, I'm sorry, but in the great scheme of things, they don't count. They don't have any impetus, any effect on the business.
Right. Hmm. Well,
I'm kind of giving you the industry perspective, right, as opposed to an individual golfer.
Well, I like both of them from you, though. I like to hear it from the golfer and from the business side, because as a golfer, you have that perspective.
Mm-hmm. True.
So,
golfer, I stink.
We all stink. There's very few that don't. Okay, I just got this email. I just got word from the Newswire just now. Congratulations, Barney Adams. You have just been named commissioner. What's your first thing you're going to do?
I'm going to investigate the arm lock putter.
Okay, what's next?
And I'm going to do away with the yardage books. They're okay during practice rounds, but not during the tournament.
Tell me more.
Well, because they're going to be electronic pretty soon. And so you're going to be in a position where, Barney Adams is on the 15th green and he's got his head buried in his yardage book. And I could be watching television and look at this new super deluxe app that's looking at the same information. And, that would certainly be experimented with to see if the public likes it.
So the yardage book on the tour or for amateurs?
Amateurs, how many amateurs have you seen use yardage books?
None.
Thank you.
I have used those little guides that when I go to a course for the first time, they have these little things that say, okay, on this hole, make sure you stay on the right side, and then your approach, they give you little instructions, but it doesn't, right? Right.
I've got those. It says on this hole, you want to avoid the trouble on the left.
Yeah.
And I tell that to my golf swing, and it immediately hits the ball into the trouble on the
left. Yes, indeed. And then it also says, and if you're hitting from this tee, the blue tee, the white tee, whatever it is, it's this far to get to the bunker, this far to clear the bunker.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And on tour, you can nail all that stuff during the practice rounds. That's what they're for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a pot bunker out there at X yards, and you don't want to get in it because if you do, you can't reach the green. So you definitely want to stay away from it. That's fine. That's fine. That that stuff shouldn't be a surprise. But when I'm standing on the green and I'm looking at this book and I'm looking for the grain of the grass, and the normal effective wind if there is any, and God knows what else. I'm sorry. You may be commissioner. I am commissioner, and they aren't allowed.
Good. I love it. And would you allow these for the caddies to carry these?
During the practice rounds.
Only practice rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's a great rule.
That's kind of old school golf. So as I said at the beginning, this business about don't mess with a multi-million-dollar operation and so on. And you can go so old school that your multi-million-dollar operation it loses value, and you don't want to do that. So you want to keep in mind the monetary side of your business. That's why I said I wouldn't eliminate the yardage books on Tuesday, but I would certainly start an investigation and try and look at both sides of it. I want to make sure I don't have to spend the next 6 months testifying in lawsuits and so on.
Yeah, you got a lot of lawyers over there working behind you too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And how would you deal with the GPS systems and rangefinders and these apps that read GPS?
They're all wonderful. Use them as much as you can during the practice rounds. That's what they're there for.
So rangefinders you wouldn't allow during a round?
I don't know. That's a tough one because if it speeds up play, and that's one of the things that I'm very interested in is pace of play. So if the caddy has got a rangefinder and he can say, look, it's 168, but the wind is this and so on and so forth, and that speeds up play, that's okay with me.
Okay.
Because you still got to hit the ball.
Right. And Mr. Commissioner, what would you do about pace of play?
Well, I know that my staff, they don't call me Mr., they call me Sir Commissioner, by the
way. Sir Commissioner.
Yeah, they're very well aware of it, and the players are very well aware with it. I quite frankly would defer to I have this room full of software engineers that I rely on their data, and we keep the door locked because they're not normal people, so we don't want them wandering around. But they sit there and they do analysis all day long, and one of the things that they're going to be constantly analyzing is pace of play, the effect on viewership, et cetera. And I'll take that information into advisement, before making any firm decisions.
Okay. There's a lot of passing of the buck going on to your attorneys right now in this dream scenario.
It's the world we live in case you haven't noticed.
Oh, yeah. This litigious world that we live in. So, Sir Commissioner, what would you do about bifurcation? Having a set of rules for the tour and a different set of rules for amateur play?
Never.
Isn't that happening right now? Like this whole conversation started with the length of the shaft. Now it's okay to do it when you're playing with your friends in practice, but you can't do it during competition? Because isn't that bifurcation?
Yeah, I guess if you want to, squeeze the word out, so to speak, but if you make 48-inch shafts, and generally what's happened before, if the tour has made a ruling like that, it feeds into the marketplace. So you can't buy 48-inch shafts. Of course, there's only about 9 of them sold every year anyway, so it doesn't make a hell of a lot of difference. But no, I'm against bifurcation. It's the only sports/game, whatever you want to call it, that I know of where I can go out on the same golf course that the best players in the world play on and use similar equipment and, prove to myself how much better they are, but also it's that ability to do those things is unique to the game, and I think very healthy for the game.
But when those guys go out and play the course that you get to go play on next week, they're playing from completely different tee boxes.
Yeah, sometimes I can't see back that far. Yeah. But that's a choice I have. If I want to go back to where they are, I could do it.
Yeah.
You know, I might shoot 132 or something, but if I just want to, you know, have the experience. And by the way, I can tell you a story.
Please.
I was playing with a young tour professional. This is several years ago. And just a thought just came out of no place. And I made him tee off so far back that he was now hitting shots into the green from comparably where I was. And he did it for about 3 holes, and he said, "This is stupid. These holes aren't designed to be played this way."
Wow.
And I said, "Welcome to the world of amateur golf."
Yeah.
We play the wrong tees. We don't understand. And that was, I wrote a story about it, as a matter of fact, and it became a movement called Tee It Forward.
Right.
And to this day, it still isn't well understood.
And we're going to talk about Tee It Forward. Let's take another break, and we're going to talk about Tee It Forward because I was an early advocate with you.
Do we have 4 or 5 hours? I mean, all right.
Barney, the very first time we talked a couple of years ago, you were coming on to talk about Tee It Forward, and I have been a huge advocate for it ever since. When I go out and play with my friends, we play from the white tees. And everyone's like, "Yeah, but your index is such that you shouldn't be playing the white tees." Like, why not? I want to have fun out here. I'm not looking to make the game harder than it already is. So if I'm playing well, hey, who knows what next round's going to be like? So I want to be able to, and the way I try to explain play it forward is the guys on the tour, they go driver wedge or driver maybe 8-iron stuff, where we go driver 4 hybrid, right? Driver 5-iron. We have a much longer second shot. Why can't we have a shorter shot like they do? Am I missing it?
You're asking me?
Well, I mean, isn't that what play it forward's all about?
Pretty much. It isn't about tee shots. It's about second shots, which is kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And second shots aren't very well understood. And by the way, under the heading of not very well understood, you play a public or private course, I don't care where it is, and they have a tournament. Where do they play the tees?
Generally the whites, right?
But do they allow anything for playing forward? No, we're having a tournament, and we must play the tees, that come with a golf course, so to speak.
Right.
So you end up many times playing tees that are too long for you because the club somehow they think that validates their tournament. I see it over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
And I think that the PGA of America has done a poor job of education. And then at the same time, I will say this is a very difficult thing to educate people about. For example, let's say a fairly short par 4, 350. And let's suppose that as an amateur, you're really good drive with rollouts, roughly 200 yards, maybe even 210. So you got 140 or 150 yard second shot. But this particular hole has the flag is over on the right side of the green, and there's a fairly large pot bunker guarding that flag. So your 140 or 150 yard shot, by definition, means up in the air, carried that far in the air to land on the green. Most of us don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Our 150 yard shot maybe goes 140 tops and then rolls out 10 yards, or fool around with the numbers. But that forced carry is not in the bag for most golfers. So what do? We aim to the left. Well, now we aim to the left, and our opening is much smaller, right? Because we've taken away that pot bunker side. So we're not as good, and we're playing to a smaller target. Thank you.
Right. Right.
It's a difficult subject.
Yeah.
When I got involved with this years ago, I campaigned for the powers that be, if you will, to talk to the Golf Channel and come up with a program that showed what the second shot issue was all about, and how to make our courses more amenable to players and so on. But it never went that far.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Sir Commissioner. Golf has always had a difficult time bringing in new people to the sport and keeping them. And I think they've identified that it's pace of play, the cost of the game and playing, and the difficulty. Now, Sir Commissioner, what would you approach on trying to make golf more accessible to everyone? Would you go after those three or one of those three?
Well, I got to ask you, are those three, are those your educated opinions, or are there facts that back them up?
I thought there have studies come out, and I've talked to many people who've said that it's, it takes too long, it's too hard, it costs too much.
I think those things have all been mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
If you are the National Golf Foundation, the NGF,
right.
You have a category called avid golfers. It was started back in the 80s. Avid golfers played, I don't know how many times a month, but they are the people that supported 72% of all golf-related expenses.
Mm.
So there's your audience, right? We've just defined your audience. Now, there were about 6.5 million avid golfers back in the 80s when this started, which grew, and my numbers may be off, but the relativity is the same, which grew to over 10 million, by 2000, or maybe 2010 even, I don't know. But it obviously grew. There was a big boom. People say that was the Tiger effect, whatever. The fact is, and I'm only dealing in facts. The facts, they were there. Today, you have 6 million avid golfers again. Now, my premise, and I sent this to the National Golf Foundation, you got an audience out there of some 4 million people who left the game. How about doing a survey? There's a thing in statistics called a Pareto distribution, which means that when you're looking for an answer from a large base, you'll find, if you say multiple answers, you'll find that 1 or 2 and maybe 2.7 things appear most of the time. You don't get 12 things, you get 1 or 2 or maybe 3. And I said, if you do this survey, the Pareto distribution is math. And if you do this survey, you're going to find 2 or 3 things that are graveyard as to why people leave the game. Instead of speculating, why don't you do a study? Last week, the National Golf Foundation was in Dallas, and I only know this because I got an email from somebody that was there, and they talked about that they're going to do a study of the people who've dropped out of the game. I'm thinking, well, all right, it's been 6 or 7 years, but I guess it's better than nothing. So when I have people giving me reasons for dropouts, I'm not ignoring them, but again, it's like I've spoken before. It's math. I'd like to see the math. I want to see when you make a statement that it's too expensive, what's that mean? I got a friend that owns a public golf course, and his green fees are like $37.50 or something like that. And he's got people complaining because it's too expensive. It's a relative term.
Right.
You can't make decisions on relative terms. You got to have facts. So why are people dropping out? In my opinion, no, I won't even give my opinion because that just puts me off with everybody else. It's not worth a damn. Let's just do the facts.
It seemed to 2020, year of COVID, seemed to be a great year for golf as far as increasing the number of players.
Yeah, sure was. You can get outside without a mask.
Yeah, exactly. And with your family. Everyone gets out of the house. It was a great year. Let's take a quick time out. We'll come back with Barney Adams right after this. This week on Golf Smarter Mulligans, episode 133, is the finale of 3 episodes with putting instructor and author Paul Hobart on his putting method called banana putting. This is the second half that was originally a members-only episode, so it's never been shared publicly before. So make sure you listen to parts 1 and 2 of this interview before you hear this week's conclusion that has gems like this.
As you stand over it, when you turn your head to look towards whatever you're looking at, if you have that breaking putt, you want to train your eyeballs to kind of walk down that string line and not to look at the cup. If you get a breaking putt, you want your eyes to trace that start line that you want the ball to go down instead of just looking towards the cup, because we always tend to hit the ball or swing where we're looking. So if you get a breaking putt and you find yourself eyeballing the hole, chances are you're going to start the ball right towards the hole and the ball's going to end up on the low side.
That's episode 133, the finale of 3 parts featuring author Paul Hobart on Golf Smarter Mulligans, being released this Friday. Golf Smarter Mulligans are the early episodes of Golf Smarter that are just no longer available on any podcast app. But like this one, they still have really helpful advice for golfers of all skill levels. Both Golf Smarter and Golf Smarter Mulligans are available from where you're listening to this podcast right now. That's 2 episodes of Golf Smarter every week. Please write a review, subscribe, and follow both of our golf podcasts and all the shows from Smarter Podcasts so that you can download or stream the brand new episode when it becomes available on your favorite listening device. Another boom that I recently witnessed from my small perch over here in the corner.
That is already starting to
deteriorate,
to decline. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I bet. There's always going to be a bounce back. I was going to say that another thing that I've witnessed that seems to help grow the game from the non-avid golfer, which I think is something to be paying attention to, was Topgolf. Are you familiar with Topgolf?
Very.
Tell me your thoughts.
It's had no effect on growth whatsoever.
None.
0.
Really?
Topgolf is not golf.
No?
It's a lot of fun. I take the grandkids. We have a great time. We bet, drink beer. We have a hell of a good time. But it's not golf.
Right, but it doesn't get people going, oh, wait, hitting a golf ball is fun. Maybe I should try this. No?
Yeah, they do. And then they go right back to Topgolf. I'm not doing that anymore. Geez, I hit my ball. I lost them. I lost 3 golf balls. People were yelling at me to move along. I don't need this.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess Topgolf was just kind of it wasn't the real deal. Oh.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Sure. Although that's my job.
I understand, but I'm commissioner. I can do whatever I want. So.
Yes, you can. You're the commissioner.
That's correct. If Topgolf is a positive in effect, how about miniature golf?
Yeah.
I know you don't sound very excited.
No.
But you're putting the ball along the surface into a cup. Is it any different than hitting the ball off a mat into a series of targets where you can hit good, bad, or indifferent?
No, you're absolutely right. I actually, at Topgolf, I would like to see the clown's mouth.
Yeah.
The windmill.
That's my point. Exactly. In fact, it's probably coming for all we know. So my point is, that it's irrelevant.
Right.
Because if it's relevant, then miniature golf should be relevant, and so on.
Yeah, you're right. Putt golf, where are you when we need you?
I'll give you another one another one I wrote about. People play, we've used the word fun in golf. Golf is not fun, as in the word ha-ha, laughs, light, and so on. Golf is hard. It is very, very hard. And as a result, positive events are extremely rewarding. And it's the rewarding issue that hooks people into the game, which is another reason why I'd like to see them be able to hit the greens more often.
It's an excellent point, and not something we've never heard before.
On my salary as commissioner?
I'm sorry?
They said we decided on my salary as commissioner.
Oh, well, you've just increased your salary. I mean, you're negotiating a very tough deal here. With all these amazing ideas that you have and all these things that you want to do, and the fact that you want to use facts to back up your surveys, your studies, and your decisions, yeah, you've just doubled your salary, buddy.
Good deal.
But what's the next thing you're going to do, Sir Commissioner? What are you going to look at that we haven't even discussed or even thought about?
I think there's enough to be done on the plate right now that jumping forward is a disservice to the game. We can't get people to play off the correct tees. I'll give you another example. All the years I was in the business, the annual announcement, get ready, the women are coming, get your lines, ready, because women's golf is really going to boom. I think I've heard that every year now for the last 300 or 400 years, including this year. And you know what? It doesn't happen. They don't show up.
Right.
And my theory is that the average, well, this is a fact, the average golf course that women play is at least 1,000 to 1,200 yards too long.
Mm.
Just take the ladies tour or just take relative data, hard data again, and factor it back into the shots that women golfers hit, and they're at least 1,000 yards too long. So they can go tee it up, a nice hot day, hit it down the fairway, hit it again, hit it again, hit it again, get on the green, et cetera, et cetera. Now it's hot, they're sweating, they're not making good scores, and they say, I could be in the mall right now. And that's where they go.
I'm not going to comment on some of this because I'm going to get myself in trouble. You can get yourself in trouble. You're the commissioner. You can do whatever you want.
Hey, what are they going to do to me? I'm 82 years old.
There you go.
Poison my porridge.
Flash the shaft.
Right. There you go.
All right. Well, I hate letting you go because I've always had so much fun when we talk, but I need a story. Just throw me a bone here, Coach. I need a story.
All right. You can ask me because I get asked this a lot. Who are the best ball strikers that I ever played with? And my answer is 3 people, Mo Norman, Tommy Bolt, and Lee Trevino. They're the top of my list for ball strikers. Mm. Now this is kind of borderline, so you can do what you want with it. But
okay, if I have to bleep it, I'll bleep it.
Now I'm playing with one time, and we're walking down the fairway, and being the jerk that I am, I say, I got to ask you this. I said, I read that you're just really, really popular on tour, especially with the lady fans. And he puts his arm around my shoulder and he says, Barnyard, I got some records they're never going to break.
Ouch. Should we talk about the course being too long for women?
You're cracking up here.
I just want to go back to talking about the women in the course being too long. What about the LPGA? Are you going to make it shorter for them too?
I don't think so. Hell, they hit it 300 yards.
Exactly. But you just said you would do that for the men. You don't think that we should have different rules, but the women should. I'm a huge fan of the talent level of the women golfers. I think they're on average so much better than most of the men, given their fact that they're not, big and strong and can leap tall buildings and so on and so forth. They're marvelous athletes, marvelous hand-eye coordination. I try to get Golf Digest to do this story. I said, I forget who I was talking about at the time, but it makes any difference. And I think she was Korean, but even then I don't remember, but it's irrelevant. But she was like, 5'5",
weighed a good solid 130 pounds, and she's hitting a 285 off the tee. And I'm saying, wait a minute, that's 285. How about doing a detailed, frame by frame analysis of her swing? What goes on physically that allows her to hit the golf ball 285 yards? Because that's proportionately longer than the men.
Interesting.
They didn't run the story, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. They don't run with everything. Barney, it is always so much fun to talk to you. You always give me a new perspective that it just rattles my brain, making me think, yeah, I better rethink this. I just love your perspective on it all. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. How'd you like to be me? I can't sleep at night sometimes.
Well,
this stuff just talk about well, I don't have a brain, but rattles around in my head.
Oh yeah, the stuff when your brain keeps you awake at night because you're making too fast. Yeah, there's drugs for that.
All right, sir. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Barney. Great talking to you again. Be well. Stay safe. I want to get you back on the show, so just do your best to stay healthy, my friend.
Well, if you want me back on the show, I would suggest you have your agent speak to my agent, and let's talk about the appearance fees, please.
Okay. You are the commissioner.
Okay. See ya.
All right, bye-bye. So I was telling that bleep story to a longtime teacher, and he knew who it was, as apparently that player's prowess was hardly a secret on the tour. But even when Barney said, when he asked the guy for the truth, I've read that you've got quite the reputation. All right, enough. But figure it out. And if you want to know, I'm not going to tell you, but write to me and I'll tell you. But figure it out. Yeah, this morning I received an email rant, his words, not mine, from a longtime listener and a lifelong golfer who's also like me in his late 60s, mid to late 60s. It was Stu. And he's upset and completely overwhelmed by all the online golf content. Here's some of what he said. I always think that I've found the ultimate swing and a person that will lead me into the promised land. But alas, it never really does. I always seem to think I don't know as much as an instructor. After all, they've reached golf nirvana, and I didn't. Time to trust. What do I know? After all, that's been Fred Shoemaker's mantra to everyone. Trust, trust, trust yourself. If you've ever been to one of his golf schools, he never shows you what you should do. He only shows you that you have the skills and how to tap into that. And I always conclude by saying, I'm so glad I found Golf Smarter all those years ago. Cheesy, I know, but it was fun to create. Anyway, I've mentioned how I've dipped into single digits a couple times in the past, but never really trusted it. But there's been a shift. I've finally learned to drop the negative emotion from my game, and it just feels different. More than ever, I'm in the moment, and I don't overreact to bad results. I feel like I can watch my ball flight and understand what I did to make it work, or not. And even though I still hope to improve, I've reached a status, air quotes, that was never on my radar, or was I determined to achieve. Now, this weekend, we were at a birthday party, and there was a lot of small talk going on, and someone asked me in a little group conversation if I'm a good golfer. I responded that I'm not good, but I ain't bad. A little more golf smart ass than was called for, so maybe I should drop that line. Anyway, a friend was standing there and said, look, compared to the average golfer, Fred's good. Okay, I guess so. My golf buddy Neil, I'm sure you've heard me mention him or seen him on Golf Smarter TV, was giving me a hard time the other day in front of his wife, saying that I'm cheating because I'm only giving him as many strokes as the USGA calculator dictates. Well, bro, I have an unfair advantage. If you had the ear of more than 400 golf professionals over 16 years, hopefully you'd learn something too. I mean, these conversations, which we call a podcast, have helped far more than the few in-person lessons or the one golf school I've attended since starting the game 24 plus years ago. But I completely understand that this is golf, and no matter how comfortable or confident I get, the game will always be in charge. But back to Stu's rant. I really enjoyed hearing his frustrations and lessons learned. I'm sorry he's frustrated, but I enjoyed hearing him vent to me like that. And I want to hear from you too. Frankly, other than my wife asking, "How was your day?" after a round, she's not interested in details of why I'm frustrated. She likes to hear that I'm happy and did well, but after a tough day, I can see her glazing over on the details the same way I react to hearing that she bought a sweater on sale. And that's actually a thing. I'm not stereotyping here. She will actually do the fashion show and then ask me, "What do you think I paid for it?" But anyway, the best thing is knowing that I can share with you and our experts what's happening out there for me. And if you need to rant to a supportive friend, consider, like Stu, of writing to me. Please feel free to send me your rants by clicking on the Hey Fred button at golfsmarter.com. It's healthy for you to get it off your chest and also really helps me to ask questions from your perspective that may never, ever have crossed my mind. Golf Smarter is your podcast for caddy. And like caddies, we humbly and graciously accept tips for services provided. The tip jar is now open. Just click on donate at golfsmarter.com.